Reading aloud from my novella Goddess, Chapter 70. At the first gesture of morning, Maddie stirred awake, her eyelids fluttering open to the soothing sensation of early morning sunshine caressing her face. She glanced around her and started with surprise. "Oh, my!" "Ah," Lady Venus whispered. "So you're awake at last, little one." Little one. My mother used to call me that. "It's morning," Maddie said. "Yes," Lady Venus said distantly. "That it is." "How long did I sleep?" "Only a moment or two." Maddie rested in Lady Venus's lap in the fountain. The fish frolicked around, happy to see their goddess back. As sunspots dappled their scales, their dancing slowed and they returned to their posts. As their scales shot through with marble, their bodies took on a strangely mottled appearance. One fish shimmied between Lady Venus's knees and gazed up at her with joy. "Where's Pegasus?" Maddie asked. Lady Venus pointed. "I sent him away with the chariot back into the heavens and the stars above. Do you see him, Maddie?" Maddie followed the direction of Lady Venus's finger, and yes, she saw him. Pegasus neighed and tossed his head in the quickening night sky. "Oh, how beautiful." "Yes." Lady Venus hadn't yet returned to her former position in the ballerina-like pose. But to her grief, Maddie knew that moment was fast approaching. Already there were signs that her flesh was fading. Wherever the sun dappled her skin, it transformed back into marble, her body mottled where the sunspots had graced her skin. Maddie let out a shuddering sob. "What is the matter, my darling girl?" "I'm dead in the ICU, aren't I?" Lady Venus did not disagree with her. On a sudden impulse, Maddie stuck out her tongue. The air, crisp and cold, singed her, burning her tongue. It hurt and soothed her in equal measure. The moment she left Lady Venus's arms, she'd return to her 57-year-old self, dying in the ICU. She knew this now with a hard, cold certainty. She'd die. No desire to hurry away from Lady Venus, but that time was quickly approaching. She stretched, still drawing enjoyment from the sensation of her young bones, free from pain, and with their former strength and vitality. And as she glanced up, she started with surprise at the sight of tears creeping down Lady Venus's cheeks. "Lady Venus, what's wrong?" Maddie's breath plumed out in clouds of vapor. She still wore her mother's white linen with black polka dot sleeveless sundress, and despite the October chill, she felt warm and cozy. And then the oddest sensation overcame her. She sensed people standing over her, surrounding her. She looked around, but the fountain was empty of people at this early hour of morning. "Nurse!" Oh, she got it now. Her body was transitioning back to her 57-year-old body at the same time that Lady Venus transitioned back into stone. Her heart sank. She sensed her body, no longer ensconced in Lady Venus's arms, but lying on a hospital bed. The unmistakable sound of a machine clicking out her heart rate sounded nearby with its comforting beep, beep, beep. And she didn't know how she sensed this, but she felt, yes, she was almost certain of it. It was on her right arm at the bicep. A blood pressure cuff on her right arm tightened and released rhythmically, measuring, testing her blood pressure. "Nurse," the familiar voice asked again, "what time did you say the doctor would get here?" What on earth? The fish had returned to their posts. They shimmered as dapples of sunshine brushed paint strokes of stone across their scales, turning them back into stone. Maddie gazed up into Lady Venus's still human, still flesh-toned face, and a tremble of sorrow shuddered in her heart at the sight of tears in Lady Venus's eyes. She sat up quickly. "Lady Venus, what's wrong?" "Oh, it's no matter." Lady Venus dashed away the tears creeping down her cheeks, and with every tear that emerged from her warm brown eyes, smooth, iridescent pebbles fell from her cheeks. Maddie caught one in her hand and marveled at the silky smooth texture between her fingers. Soapstone. Lady Venus's massive palm closed down over Maddie's fingers, enclosing the remaining pebbles in her hand. "Keep them," Lady Venus urged her. "Remember me." Maddie looked up at her. "Remember you?" Lady Venus gazed out at the distant horizon. "My time will be ending shortly. The transit of Venus across the sun is drawing to a close. The alignment of Jupiter will soon pass from the moon's orbit. You're leaving me." Lady Venus avoided her gaze. "Oh, Lady Venus, please don't leave me. Don't you leave me too. This is so hard. This is the hardest part." Maddie sat up abruptly, hurt surging through her heart. "You were using me, weren't you? That's all I was to you. You needed a human to contact that artist, to persuade her not to kill herself, to finish her sculpture. You were just using me." Maddie hated how childish, how selfish she sounded. In Lady Venus's last minutes alive, she ought to be using these last moments to thank her for such a glorious night, and instead she was upbraiding her wrongfully. She struggled to extricate herself from Lady Venus's arms, but the goddess held her close. "No," Lady Venus said, "I love you. You're leaving me." She nodded. "This is so hard," Lady Venus said. "This is always the hardest part. But there is one last task you must perform, and this task is for you and you alone." "For me?" "Yes. I took you along with me on this journey because I needed your help to rescue a statue. And now that this journey is completed and the task achieved, there is yet another journey, a far more difficult one." "In what way?" Maddie asked. "It's a journey that only you can take." "What do I need to do?" "The doctor will do his rounds in an hour, and he'll drop by then to see you." Maddie fell back against Lady Venus's chest, hot tears singeing her eyes. "Don't leave me," she whimpered. "I want you to stay." "No," Lady Venus said. "I love you, Madeline." "I can't bear it," Maddie gasped. "I've lost so much in my lifetime." "My time is passing." Lady Venus cast a worried glance out at the sky. "I must leave you, but I want you to know that you will always be in my heart. And if you ever get lonely again, rub these pebbles against your fingers. They will help you remember who you are and why you are strong." After a moment, she added, "And you need to remember your task." Maddie was sobbing. "Don't go, please. Don't go. Don't leave me." And then Lady Venus said the oddest thing. "Think on Mrs. Charles," Lady Venus said, and her voice died away in the whispery breeze. Think on Mrs. Charles.